Today, I was going to talk about Psalm 34. It's a pretty popular psalm that many lyrics have came out of it and that kind of thing. I keep turning to it, looking at it, but wanted to talk a little bit about the history of it, when how it came to be a little bit first. And back, when before David was actually or officially the king, Saul, he was jealous of David. David had been prophesied to become the king, by Samuel, which, was actually God had said, that David would be the king, but, David had shown up Saul, with some of his military prowess, and, David had married Saul's daughter, Michal, and he was friends with his son, Jonathan. But, both of his Saul's children had helped David, flee from Saul. But, Saul had sent many people to kill David. He was really jealous of him. And, David was on the run. David ended up at this compound for priests and prophets. I think it was called Nob. And David, he knew this priest, Ahimelech, and Ahimelech was sort of nervous, because he knew the kind of the situation that was going on, when David came in, but he went ahead and, David and his men, they were hungry. And, the story that, Amalek gave, David and his men some of that show bread that was, for the priests, were supposed to only eat this bread. And, I'm sure David was acting real edgy and everything, but, he really had Ahimelech sort of nervous, but David also got that sword, of Goliath when he was there, that he had defeated, the giant with. And but he had to flee from there. He could have returned home to face Saul, but he decided to take his chances among other enemies. So I'm going to read 1 Samuel 21:10 through 15. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said unto him, Is not this David the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? And David laid up these words in his heart, and was sore afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the doors of the gate, and let his spittle fall down upon his beard. Then said Achish unto his servants, Lo, ye see the man is mad. Wherefore then have ye brought him to me? Have I need of madmen, that ye have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? Okay, so we got this situation. Achish was the king of Gath, and that was the hometown of Goliath. David shows up with a sword of Achish's dead champion. The Philistines, they probably thought, of David like he was, the king of Israel already, because of his military success against them. When they said that song was sung, that was one of the reasons that Saul was so furious, because he said that, Saul had killed thousands, but David is 10,000s. But after hearing those words, I think David realized how serious this was. So he started acting mad, crazy, before the Philistines, could take revenge on him. Because no sane Israelite would have, done this. But, David was able to escape. So, Psalm 34, we think was written after these events, that happened. And, he acted crazy, in front of Achish. But this is sort of a Thanksgiving psalm, a celebration kind of psalm. We're not sure if, who wrote, a lot of these psalms that, we call sometimes the psalmist, or, David could have written some of these psalms, but this one is one of the ones that's called a Psalm of David. But I'm going to read the title part of it. A Psalm of David, when he changed his behavior before Abimelech, who drove him away, and he departed. Well, the priest back before he went to Achish was called Ahimelech. It was really similar to that, but we think Abimelech, might have been another name for Achish. But Abimelech literally means, I think, father of the king, or my father is king, I think. So he may have been it may have been a title, for a Philistine king. We don't really know for sure. But I'm going to read Psalms 34, 1 through 4 now. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. O magnify the Lord with me, and let all exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all my fears. When it says, I will bless the Lord at all times, that phrase, at all times, in Hebrew is understood that the word they use, in every situation. Good, bad, no matter, In verse 2, makes her boast. Praise Yahweh proudly. Hebrew word halal, it is focusing on Yahuwah's deeds, not driven by pride. This is that word halal is what, where hallelujah comes from. In verse 3, that Hebrew word gadol means to make great, when it says magnify. And in verse 4, Yahweh was faithful when he delivered the psalmist from trouble, There are several, many songs written, from these verses. I mean, that's what really got me interested in it, and keeps my interest in it, because of all these songs that have came from this, this psalm. They are, what is it? Psalm 34, Taste and See. There's a lot of artists that did it. And there's some other songs. I think I Will Bless the Lord, and some other ones that use lines directly out of this psalm, And And that's where all my interest comes from in it too. But mostly, I like the history part too. But okay, I'm gonna go ahead and read verses 5 through 7. They looked unto him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him, and saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, and delivered them. Okay, the psalmist explained, that his prayers had been answered, in verse 5 and 6. The ones who trust in Yahweh will not be ashamed. In verse 7, the angel of the Lord's presence surrounds and protects those who fear him. Okay, now I'm going to read verses 8 through 10. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. O fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. So here, the psalmist wants others to enjoy that same sort of blessing, that he experienced. So taste and see that the Lord is good. Fear of the Lord is a reverence and respect, that comes out of that fear, but it will help you become wise. In verse 10, even the powerful lion may go hungry. Those who seek Yahweh will not. Okay, now I'm going to read verses 11 through 14. Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. What man is he that desireth life and loveth many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Okay, here they start talking about wisdom. And wisdom kind of has these three parts to it. You got fearing the Lord, then doing good, and then rejecting evil. In verse 11, anyone who listens can become wise, followers of God, and even children. In verse 13, we should control our words. Speaking evil and guile is foolish, And the way of peace leads to harmony and order. But, evil will destroy them. Okay, now I'm going to read, I'm going to read 15 and 16. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and the ears are open unto their cry. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. I think here the eyes of Yahweh is describing his protection and care. His ears, hear and respond to the cries of his people. The face of Yahweh is probably meaning his judgment on those that do evil. For the wise, the Lord shows concern rescuing them, but he destroys the foolish. Okay, next I'm going to read 17 through 19. The righteous cry, and the Lord heareth, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. Earlier it had said that the righteous who fear God, were said to, not suffer any want. Here it says they should not expect a trouble-free life. They can expect Yahweh. He will be with them and deliver them from their troubles. And those that have a broken heart, they have a dependence on the Lord. God accepts this as a proper sacrifice, and He will heal them. Okay, now I'm going to read verses 20 and through 22. He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. The Lord redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. When it talks about the bones, John had referred back to this in some of his letters, saying that it was fulfilled when Jesus had died on the cross before his legs could be broken. I think that is John 19, verse 36, if you want to look at that. But the wicked in verse 21 are destroyed by their affliction. The Lord will deliver the righteous from theirs. Before I talk about verse 22, I just wanted to make a few points here. This is kind of interesting. Psalm 34 is what they call acrostic psalm, which means each line of the psalm, would begin with a consecutive letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And, the psalmist would, usually say something meaningful, as well as make sure that it stayed on this sequence, of the alphabet. But it was kind of like, writing songs or poetry, that kind of thing. But they tried to start out with a, different letter of the alphabet. They kept it going, but Psalm 34 is one of the ones that they leave out one of the letters. They left out the Hebrew letter Wah, and they added a verse at the end. And here, verse 22 was the last one of the psalm. And in verse 22, the letter begins with the Hebrew letter Peh. When it falls outside the acrostic pattern, this highlights this verse. So I'm going to read that verse 22 again. The Lord redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. Emphasis added. I just feel like, because of that acrostic thing, that was the highlighted verse, where it was the one that was out of sequence. So I think they wanted emphasis on that. Okay, so, Psalm 34 was written after an incident in David's life where he pretended to be insane, to escape danger. Hopefully, we won't have to run from an enraged enemy or, run to another enemy, that kind of thing. But we could, we can relate to needing deliverance. We could need help from, danger. Our goals could seem overwhelming, impossible. We could lack, resources or, just think about these verses and really sense the excitement of deliverance, There was danger. There was a desperate prayer. and an answer. God showed up, and this is a song of celebration and thanksgiving. Remember, we could find ourselves in a desperate situation, so we need to, we really need to know the God who saves. We need to keep praising the Lord, remembering that He will deliver and protect us, Also, let's try to live right, and let's invite others, like, that taste and see, to experience His goodness. Okay, guys, until next time.